Welcome to the party. I'm Sam Ekstrom of Locked On Sports Minnesota. Happy Halloween and happy Cam Robinson week.
I'm Luke Braun of Locked On Vikings, and hey, it's 5 o'clock somewhere.
Hey, I'm Reef Hassan of the Wide Left Substack. I'm a ghost.
Locked On Sports Minnesota Podcasts. It's endless Minnesota Vikings talk with the diverse voices of your local experts. It's time for the Minnesota Football Party. It's your guys hanging out talking next level Vikings football. So join in with Arif Hassan, Locked On Vikings Luke Braun, Superior Sports Talk's Luke Inman, and Vikings insider Sam Ekstrom, plus the biggest names in Minnesota football for the Minnesota Football Party. And it starts now.
What's up? Happy Thursday. Welcome into the Minnesota Football Party on Locked On Sports Minnesota, and a happy Halloween to all. I'm Sam Ekstrom. You met Arif Hassan. You met Luke Braun. Go Cornell. I'm Andy Bernard today. For those that are listening on audio, which you can find on the Locked On Vikings audio feed. That's where Luke Braun populates that feed with great daily Vikings content. Also check out Arif Hassan Wide Left Substack. Luke Braun, why don't you describe your costume for the folks in 10 seconds or less who are listening?
I look extraordinarily white. I have a lot of sunscreen on my nose. I have a bucket
hat.
But enough
about you. What about the costume?
I have pronounced tan lines shown by my V-neck t-shirt.
Oh, nice.
And a Hawaiian shirt. It's 5 o'clock somewhere, baby. I'm doing a Jimmy Buffett thing.
And Arif Hassan has a car on his face.
2017 Hyundai Elantra, to be specific.
Is there any significance to that car? Is that like one that you have a connection to or anything, or maybe a profound lack of a connection to?
When I was thinking of ghosts, that's the first thing that I came up with for some reason. I actually don't know why I made that association.
Sorrow, things you miss. I get it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, I guess, I hadn't thought about it like that, but yeah, no, for sure.
On today's show, the Vikings swung a trade for a big left tackle, Cam Robinson. We dissect that, as well as the Colts maneuver to switch from Anthony Richardson to Joe Flacco. How much tougher does that make this Sunday night matchup? And what are the key matchups against the Indianapolis Colts? We also gamble for Week 9. We make our bets, and the long-awaited, and on the actual day of Halloween, we have our Halloween candy draft that we conduct annually. Can't wait for that. Today's show is brought to you by Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL. Use code all lowercase LockedOnNFL to win $50 instantly when you play $5. Vikings made a trade, guys. They acquired Cam Robinson from the Jacksonville Jaguars in exchange for a 2026 fifth-round pick. They'll absorb close to $10 million in salary, and they have a left tackle for the rest of the year. Now, he did not practice yesterday. I think there's some question as to whether or not he plays on Sunday. Hasn't been ruled out, hasn't been confirmed. They've also got the Brandel Reisner possibility. They've got David Questenberry possibility, but he did pop up with a knee on the injury report. But whether it's this week or next week, Cam Robinson is brought in to be your savior at left tackle. So, Luke Braun, your thoughts on the move?
I like it a lot. I was a little bit wary of this idea before it happened because I was worried about that contract. He's on the franchise tag. He's got making $16 million this year. You'd be responsible for like 9 of it, but then it turns out that the Jaguars are paying 7 of that, so it's actually just fine. They pay a day 3 pick swap that it could turn into a 4th for a 7th, but it's 2 years deferred, which obviously takes the value down a little bit. So it's an extraordinarily cheap way to get a Band-Aid to paper you over while Christian Darrisaw is hurt. And he's a good player. He's not Darrisaw. He's not perfect. He gets beat inside sometimes. He has very good anchor, but sometimes he over relies on it, I would say. But he's a big, strong guy. Very big, very strong. That works on the line pretty well. And his footwork is great. That's like he's big, but he moves really well because he has he's a veteran, right? He's been doing this forever and he has very polished footwork. I have a video breakdown of that on my Patreon if you want to see all that stuff. Patreon.com/LukeBraun NFL. Go check it out.
He's 29 years of age. Had to be the longest tenured Jaguar. I can't imagine there were too many Jaguars on that roster that were there beyond 2017.
Yeah, he was on the 2017 team. He was in that AFC Championship.
Man, that's crazy.
Played 1,000 snaps that year. He's been a good pass blocker his whole career. Hasn't shown any diminishment in that regard. Coming off a concussion, something to consider, but he was cleared prior to last week. But he did not play, so he's a couple weeks rusty. He'll get in here, and Arif, I've got no idea what it truly entails to ask a left tackle to come in, practice twice, get a new playbook, and play football. I don't know. I don't know the real challenges that it creates for a play caller, for the center, for the pre-snap stuff. I don't know if you can shed any light on that either, but it seems a bit daunting to ask him to come in and be super effective in his first game. But maybe I'm wrong about that.
No, it is. It is. No, I think that it is asking a fair amount. It is not the same as like TJ Hawkinson, right? Who I think had to learn quite a bit more and was able to play right away. So that's something I think that you've got to keep in mind. It really depends on kind of how hands-on the Vikings offensive line coaching staff is. Some offensive line coaches just, if it works, it works is kind of their approach to a lot of things, and they kind of let a player explore what works and then kind of maximize that. Some coaches very diligent about the kinds of techniques they want to pursue. I would imagine the Vikings offensive line coaching staff does not really have a lot of choice in this matter, but that's something to kind of consider. Obviously, the elements that we talk about when we talk about like offensive line chemistry, those are going to be kind of issues, right? The communication that occurs between the left tackle and the left guard, whether that occurs in the run game, kind of moving off of a double team, who's moving off of what double team, whether that occurs when there's stunts and twists, how you communicate that there's a player coming at you, all of that stuff tends to get negotiated in the offseason, sometimes even in the preseason. You don't have access to that, so that's something that they're going to be able to, or going to have to accelerate the learning curve for. And then, there's other stuff. Obviously, there's like a ton of that you have to learn, but a lot of it is just like semantic changes, like the way the language is structured for the protection. But a lot of protections across the league are the same. So from that perspective, it's a little bit easier. The Vikings don't have like this running game that's, so deep in the bag that there's like a bunch of different types of terminology. But I would imagine the Vikings kind of narrow that down a little bit. So, the Vikings run a ton of duo anyway, but a ton of duo, a ton of inside zone, that kind of stuff. So I don't know that it's as big a challenge as bringing in somebody who has to learn every route in the route tree, but it's always going to be a challenge.
Yeah, there are things like schematically with linemen about like what this passing concept, what's the drop depth, is something that's like probably a lot to memorize in a week, but that's also something you can manage in the huddle or just as you break the huddle. You can have Blake Brandel be like, oh, hey, this is a 7-step drop. He's probably dropping to 9 yards. Play accordingly. And you can kind of paper it over that way, and you can work on that stuff throughout the week. And then, in the run game, everything they do is fairly, like what the left tackle does on zone is fairly standard across the league. What he does on duo, fairly standard across the league. So I think you can work those things. It's like TJ Hawkinson said when he did get here, he's, football's football. But I think some of those chemistry things, like what depths you're going to be at in your pocket when you're on the slide side, which actually they struggled with in Jacksonville too, although it was like super clearly Ezra Cleveland's fault. That was what I noticed. I was like, oh, 76 is out of position. Oh, that's who that is. He would just always be at the wrong depth, and they would actually get super got on stunts a whole lot that way. So hopefully that's not the same here, because it seemed like the other guy's fault.
I mean, you notice
but
that
there's you could paper that over is what I'm saying.
You notice that when there's a new quarterback in there too, right? Like the offensive line is blocking at for the wrong depth because they're not used to kind of the new guy coming in.
This is what happened with Jaron Hall, yeah.
Yeah.
And he just dropped too deep, and it was whoops.
Right, yeah.
Well, can't do that now.
So like that's something to kind of keep in mind. Like if I haven't looked at Sam Darnold's dropbacks versus Trevor Lawrence's, but if that's different. That's going to be an issue. The Vikings hold on to the ball a very long time, so that's something that offensive linemen have to be cognizant of, that's just going to be part of what you're doing now. And you don't really transition as often into blocks downfield and stuff like that after like the 3-second mark. So your feel for how long you have to maintain the play, that's gonna have to be something that you adapt to. But these are all, I would argue, not enormous things, not things that would prevent you from seeing the field if you're a generally better option than the left tackle. It's just something you have to learn if you want the offense to be successful.
More likely to play Reisner or Cam Robinson?
Next week or this week?
This week?
I think Reisner this week, but Cam Robinson for the rest of the season after that.
Yeah. I think having the entire week to practice makes it, well, I guess he didn't have Wednesdays, but having 2 of 3 days still, I'm still feel okay about him going in. I would say Robinson.
That's fair.
The language around Dalton Reisner still suggests that whether Cam plays or not, that they kind of want to see Reisner on the field. I think
he also still isn't on. He still hasn't been activated, so I'm going to guess you're going to have like a questionable designation for him going into the game. So like whether it's like you have like 2 different things. You have whether or not they're serious about putting him in, and you also have whether or not he's like ready to go.
Correct, and they've said he's ready to go. They just haven't made the move that confirms he's ready to go.
Right.
They also said that, yeah. Anyway, I think that move could be coming maybe to replace Ingram. I've thought that for a bit, but we'll see about the offensive line situation. The last time the Vikings started 5-0 and then started fading, they made a desperation move for a tackle, Jake Long. Hopefully this move goes a little better than that one. I think Long lasted a game and a half.
Did he last that long? Like
I think it was. It was
like one game.
It was like a couple, and then he like tore his Achilles.
Yeah. Again
in Washington. On like the last play of the game.
Yeah.
The Colts have made a move. They have benched Anthony Richardson, and Joe Flacco will take over. We talked about the ramifications of going to the near 40-year-old quarterback next on the Minnesota Football Party. We are brought to you today by 5 Hour Energy. It's Arif Hassan's favorite drink. He really should be doing the read. They know at 5 Hour Energy that being a passionate football fan isn't just a hobby, it's a way of life. It takes energy to power through the tailgates, the touchdown celebrations, and the agonizing overtime games, which is why they've created the Stand the Fan 5 Hour Energy shot with a special flavor called Fan Fuel. The energy shot made just for super fans like you, the fans who are first in the parking lot and last to leave. We see you. We do. We see you. The Cam Robinson trade has given me some fan fuel. Vikings have solidified the left tackle spot, which is huge in the season with playoff aspirations. Cam Robinson, I think, is going to play on Sunday, and I'm fueled up for that. 5 Hour Energy knows that no matter what team you root for, being a fan requires heart, soul, and a whole lot of energy. Whether you're prepping for the big tailgate or ironing your jersey, your game day to-do list is always a mile long. That's why the limited edition Stand the Fan 5 Hour Energy shot is here to help keep you fueled throughout the season. What's your fan fuel this week? Whatever it is, do it with 5 Hour Energy. Available on 5hourenergy.com, shipped nationwide. Richardson benched, Flacco starting for the Indianapolis Colts. We discussed that here in the next section of the Minnesota Football Party. Want to just remind folks that we have a great lineup at Locked On Sports Minnesota. Please subscribe. We do this every Monday and Thursday. Minnesota Basketball Party is live on Wednesdays. Ron Johnson on Tuesdays. He also hosts our Friday Roundtable. So from Richardson to Flacco, we talked about this a bit on Monday. Changes the game and changes the complexion of how you play defensively. It gives the Colts a quarterback that can read blitzes and deliver balls accurately. Just a totally different game plan for Joe Flacco, who is almost 40 years of age. I watched his alleged best game of the year back in large chunks against the Jaguars, where he threw 3 touchdowns. Alleged. You know, he's a rhythm passer. He gets the ball out nicely. I didn't think he was outlandishly good. I thought that the game script changed a little bit in the fourth quarter when he was down 10. Jaguars got a little lax, and he was pretty good in that game. Doesn't make a lot of mistakes. But
rhythm passer, gets the ball out, he's going for 400.
And it's going to be 12 yards at a time.
Yep. Second and
here,
15 after. So apparently they
12
have
there.
pre-snap penalty problems like we do. According to Jake Arthur, who I talked to on the Locked On Crossover this week. So there's going to be 2nd and 14, 20-yard chunks. I hope you liked the last 2 weeks. They're totally doing it again.
Fantastic.
Good running back like Detroit, like LA,
Yeah.
Jonathan Taylor.
Well, the Vikings have been unbelievable on stopping those first down runs after like the first couple of drives. Once you kind of make your adjustments.
Blake Cashman did not practice on Wednesday, so he would appear to be probably facing a questionable designation. The language around him still seems pretty positive. They might get him back. I think they didn't want to practice him inside yesterday. But again, but looking at the weather outside, Braun, you wouldn't know this, but it's terrible. So they might not practice outside again
Very
today.
sunny where I'm at. It's very might kick back, pour another margarita.
Sure.
You going to the Dodgers parade in a couple days?
I will not be.
Oh, okay.
You can't
right.
get in a car on a day where there's a Dodgers parade. Not in LA.
Arif, Flacco over Richardson. How much harder is this game?
I think it's significantly more difficult. It is a little bit difficult to parse. So, for example, like Flacco is like what 5th in EPA per play or something crazy like that. Richardson was like 30th. There's a huge difference in terms of the way that the production is played out. But if you just take a look at like what's been happening in Anthony Richardson games, what's been happening in Joe Flacco games, like Richardson was playing very poorly, right? There's just no way around that. His production is worse than his play because anytime he did like a thing that would make you excited, like, oh my God, that's like an Anthony, that's why you drafted him. His teammates would just screw it up. Like, it is crazy how often his teammates would screw up. I think, I forget who I was talking to, it might have actually been you, Luke, where he's playing really bad, and then his teammates are pouring salt on the wound, and I think it was like kicking a diseased dog. It's like, you don't need to do that. That guy's already down, right? Like, but it's bad. And I don't know that the team is just going to be better with Flacco in there. Like, obviously, there's some elements here where part of the reason that the teammates are messing up is because they don't have a good read on what Richardson wants, and so they're running the wrong route, and maybe that doesn't happen with Flacco, or maybe Flacco throws a more catchable pass, and so you're not going to get as many drops. That might happen, right? And so you might have fewer mistakes from teammates, but I still think that element is at play. And so you just might get another Josh Downs drop that's going to be critical, right? Like, that might happen. So I think there's a production gap between the two that is notable and worth paying attention to, especially because his play style, it counters what the Vikings do fairly well. But I think that production gap is overstated for the amount of talent either of them have shown. And so, yeah, I think it's going to be more difficult to play Joe Flacco. From a play calling perspective, it's probably a little bit easier. It's just from an execution standpoint, it's going to be harder because you don't have to have a quarterback spy. But I think that it is easy to overstate that difference, and you don't really want to do that.
Yeah, what little nugget on Flacco, we made a lot of the Richardson ADOT, which was by far the highest in the league. And Flacco's isn't nearly that high. But if you look at the 3 weeks where he played, weeks 4 through 6 in the NFL, had the second most deep pass attempts in that time frame, just behind Aaron Rodgers. Now, he was not good. He was 5 of 17 on those attempts, but still willing to work the ball downfield
Yeah,
a
but he's
little
still
bit.
Joe Flacco. Like, that's still who he is as a guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you look at Jacoby Brissett versus Joe Flacco in Cleveland, like, Flacco was gunning it. Brissett was not doing that. Like, Flacco's not going to be reckless about it, but he's still like a deep ball thrower. It's just his reputation for the deep ball came from an era when people would throw it deep a little bit less often. I guess now with all the too high stuff, it is like going back down. But he comes from a time when you wouldn't throw deep as often. People were shortening their passes until about 2018 or so. And so his deep ball was more notable, but he still throws it deep. Like, that's who he is.
So I think the reason the Colts did this is obvious. I think a lot of people are running too much interference for Anthony Richardson. The timing of this offense was deeply broken. The ball was not out when it was supposed to be. Richardson wasn't hitting the top of his drop when he was supposed to be. It was early a lot. And then he would have to wait, and then he would be, too deep, and the line isn't ready to cover that deep yet, to protect that deep yet. and then you'd get pressure, and then there'd be all these problems. And I think a lot of that gets misconstrued for, oh, the wide receiver didn't run it right, or the line didn't run it right. But the way I saw it, the line and the receivers were in tandem with each other a little bit more. You know, the way that the line was setting up was protected right for when the route should break off here, and Richardson is just back and waiting. Not to mention that his footwork would just like totally go out the window a lot. Like he would just get to the top of his drop and then immediately abandon his base and then throw one off platform and then miss. It's like, but you can't do that. And that wouldn't be on, long developing plays or shot plays where you have to buy time or anything. No, that would be on like 3-step drop, throw, stick. And he would be like he'd be like galloping into problems. You can't put that on the field. And whether it's about, protecting your draft investment or developmental, we've got all this discourse. You can't look any Colts player in the eye, put that on the field and say, yeah, we are trying to be competitive. To me, continuing to play Anthony Richardson and hoping he develops would just be brass trying to save face at the cost of the team. So I went through tape. I made a video for my Patreon. I'm writing an article for Arif. And like, when I went through that, I was like, wow, they like have to bench this guy. And then the next morning they did. So I was like, okay, I guess I got that. So what Flacco gives you is that the normal stuff will happen on time. And this with Flacco is not a dynamic offense like the Lions and Rams are, but stuff will happen on time. So the litmus test is it harder to beat this Vikings defense right now, which is in total free fall? Is it hard enough to beat them? Or do you just have to do stuff on time? If you just have to do stuff on time, then things need to be changed. Or was it just that Stafford and Goff are really good, and if you do stuff on time but you don't have, Puka Nacua and Amon-Ra St. Brown, then it falls apart. But the Colts don't have those guys. It's a little bit like, man, if these guys move the ball on you, then all you really have to do is execute a normal offense, and anyone north of Bo Nix can smoke us.
Ron Johnson's going to weigh in on this next, and we're going to get to see his Halloween costume on the other side on the Minnesota Football Party. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel, and of course, Andy Bernard, will be looking for a Cornell line because they have a big game against Princeton on Saturday, trying to get their third win of the year. Hopefully that's available at FanDuel, America's #1 sports book, because new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL as well. It's all in one place, so when you get that hunch during the game, FanDuel is the place to go. FanDuel.com to join today. Get started with $150 in bonus bets if that first $5 bet wins. FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch. Make every moment more at FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. We're also brought to you today by Built. Listen up, renters. Ever feel like you're stuck in this loop of rent payments, just watching your money vanish into thin air? It's time to turn that rent game around and start earning some serious rewards. That's where Built Rewards comes in. Built is breaking ground as a neighborhood rewards program that hooks you up with points on your rent. Every month, pay your rent, watch the Built points roll in, use points to jet off on a dream vacation, put your points toward a flight or hotel stay with 500-plus airlines and 700,000 hotels and properties. You can also use your points to book fitness studio classes, redeem them towards a future rent payment. They're designed to meet your lifestyle. Pay rent hassle-free through the Built Rewards app. Your rent game just got a major upgrade. Built points have been consistently ranked the highest value point currency by The Points Guy and Bankrate. Earn points by paying rent right now when you go to joinbuilt.com/LockedOnNFL. That's joinbuilt, joinbilt.com/LockedOnNFL. Make sure to use our URL so they know we sent you. Joinbuilt.com/LockedOnNFL to start earning points with your rent payments today. Ron Johnson joins the program. He's the host of the Ron Johnson Show. He hosts the Friday Roundtable. Oh, my goodness. It is it Ray? Ray Lewis?
I'm Batman.
Oh, my God. Okay.
But it's Bateman. Bateman,
Right.
Batman.
No, yeah.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Easy to adjust the back of the jersey. That's really good. That's great. It's Ron Johnson with the dimmed out face mask as well.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. The visor.
That's
yeah.
swaggy. Very nice. Ron Johnson joins the show. At 3
Forgot
Ron
how tight
Johnson.
those helmets were, man. Ooh,
Yeah, he's sweating.
got a headache.
Yeah,
You know,
you sure
pass
like
out.
your head just didn't get bigger? Have you considered that possibility?
I think my head's gotten smaller. I think it's just helmets were tight, but it was different then. Technology was a lot different. It had to be tight so you got to sustain that Ryan Clark hit. You got to be ready for that.
Mhm.
You talked plenty on Tuesday's show about the Flacco Richardson dynamic.
Yep.
You kind of called it. They're going with Flacco. What do you make
Mhm.
of the move?
Yeah, so on the pregame show on Sunday, it's funny you bring that up. I just spent about an hour watching some film that the Vikings are putting together for me. And the one thing right away that I noticed, Anthony Richardson misses a lot of throws. Like there's some times where he should probably throw it a little sooner. There's some holes that he probably should throw it to, and he just doesn't see it. Flacco, and but Anthony Richardson with his legs is dangerous. And so that secondary play, if you blitz him, if you like the Texans went like a lot all out, and the week before that, I think it was the Steel. No, it wasn't Steelers. That was a Flacco played Steelers. I forgot who was before that, but they were going all out trying to get him. Like they were going after Anthony Richardson, and I see why. Like when you blitz him, he doesn't know how to handle it. You fast forward, technically rewind to the Jags game versus Flacco. You watch his first 9 passes were completed. The man was 10 for 11 in the first quarter, but here's why. First play out the gate, he automatically understands the coverage. He knows where he's going. Next play, runs a play action. The tight end, I think it's Mo Alley Cox. The tight end knows he has the pop pass on the play action. Linebackers jump to it. Flacco doesn't like flinch. He doesn't worry about the pressure. He knows these linebackers are going to bite on this play action. I have to wait 1 second, and Mo Alley Cox will be behind him. Boom, drops it in there. Another great pass to number 1, coming across. And then when they get down to the red zone, 3rd and 6, he has 2 options there. And he has a choice route by number 1. He has a go route by the outside receiver. Both were there, but he takes the choice route because he realizes on the motion, it was like a cover 2, Tampa 2, but man underneath. They gave it away. When he motioned, the linebacker bumped out with number 1. He was like, yep, that's who I'm going after. I'm going after this linebacker against my shifty receiver. Boom. Hits him on that. It doesn't score, but it's like it's a choice, right? He has an out or he has a go in the outside. DB tried to bite the out. So Flacco, when you watch him, and I'm going to watch the rest of some more of that film and some more of the stuff he did because he played in the Steelers game, Jags and Titans. But he just seems to know the offense a little bit better. And Shane Steichen seems to want to throw the ball more when Flacco's under center. So that's concerning. Like when you look at the Vikings defense and how Matthew Stafford was able to figure them out, I talked about that with Sam. I actually did a play breakdown on Twitter with some of the zone switch to man looks or man switch to zone looks that Brian Flores tries to bring out. It's enough on film now, whereas as a quarterback, I hope you show man and stay man. Show zone, stay zone. Like you got to play the chess match. You can't always switch thinking like, oh, he thinks he's man. Let's go to zone. Like he knows that now. Now you play chess. You play a little chess with them and you stay in man. You stay in zone so that he can't figure you out. And I think that's going to be the key for the Vikings. Also, blitzing Joe Flacco does nothing to him because he's not running. He's trying to stay in there and find the open throw. So if somebody makes a mistake, he's going to find it. So I'm a little bit nervous about that.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of already addressed this a little bit by mentioning that they throw the ball a little bit more with Flacco under center, but I did want to ask like how you play Jonathan Taylor differently because, whenever there's a running threat at quarterback, it just makes life easier for the running back. You're always taking a blocker out. You're moving guys around. You're more likely to play zone coverage, like if you've got a running quarterback, so you've got your eyes up. How exactly should the Vikings be approaching Jonathan Taylor with Flacco in now versus, if they had Richardson in?
Well, it starts up front. When you look at when you look at their offensive line, the key to this one is you got some questionable guys this week. And not to say like we're looking forward to offensive linemen not playing, but you got both tackles are questionable and their center is questionable. But Quentin Nelson, we know he was one of the best guards coming out. Like that's always been a good thing. And this offensive line, regardless of the result of some of these games, some of the plays are not their fault. Like again, I bring it back to Anthony Richardson. There's some times where he needs to get rid of the ball and he holds on to it versus making a throw. And I'm going to show one of those on Sunday where he scrambles and he gets probably 15 yards or 11 yards or something like that. But he could have made an easy 15-yard throw to the tight end running a flag route. but he doesn't trust his arm, or he doesn't trust the scheme to be able to drop it in a bucket and say, you know what? I know that corner's running with my outside receiver. My tight end is running in an open zone hole. Let me just drop it in over the cover 2 corner. He doesn't make that throw. And so this offensive line is really good. So when it comes to the run game, you have to honor it. And that's to your point, like, play action is very like viable when Jonathan Taylor's in the game with this offensive line, because if you don't, he will gas you. They also like to run a little play action with the screen to the running back as well. So again, you're gonna have to play your keys, and you can't get greedy. I was talking to Blake Cashman about this during homecoming, because he was at the game. We were both on the sideline, and we talked for a little bit about like just not being greedy, trusting your partner, trusting your teammate to say, you know what, if this is play action with a screen, I know who's supposed to have the running back. I have to trust he's going to make that play. I can't run up, because then the next step of that is a reverse, screen to the other side. You show screen to this side, you run backside tight end screen, or you run a receiver screen, because everybody's greedy trying to go stop the screen. So again, I know Shane Steichen, he's going to build it. He's been building up to this, and he knows where everybody's prepared for Brian. Like, this is the game you circle when you know you're playing Brian Flores' defense, because you're like, look, we got to be buttoned down and we can't make mistakes. But that's the other part about this. If the Vikings defense kind of slows down Flacco, they can just go to Jonathan Taylor and give him 15 to 20 carries. And, stopping the run has been great, but it's only been because teams were coming from behind. Teams were playing from behind and they were having to throw the ball. Nobody's running the ball down 2 scores. And so, again, if this is an even game to start out, or even the Colts take a lead early on, watch out, because now they can just bleed the clock out and get it to Jonathan Taylor. The one thing, though, time of possession for the Colts has not been great. I think they're either last or bottom, close to the bottom. So they have not been holding on to the ball for long periods of time. We know Jonathan Taylor was not playing in some of those games, so we'll see what it looks like with him back, and then Flacco under center.
The Colts are in such a weird spot culturally after this benching and everything, like players talking about the Anthony Richardson tapping out and all that. Mm-hmm. With this kind of like tumult in the locker room, is there any coming back from that? Or is it one of those things where it's just, man, the vibes are just wrecked and the things just kind of need to go back home for the summer and reset?
The only vibe I can say they can get back, and I'm going to go to a movie, The Longest Yard. I don't know if you guys remember when what's his name? Adam Sandler was a quarterback. He's gambling on games and before, and the warden tells him you either throw this game or, whatever, you're going to jail forever. Mm-hmm. So he kind of screws it over. Then he gets on the sideline and he tells his team, hey, look, man, I did throw a game in college, but I was blah, blah. And he's honest with them. And then, and then the big dude says, I'm glad I don't have to stab you. Like, that's the only way Anthony Richardson is going to get back and the vibe's going to come back. He's going to have to admit to his mistakes to the team. Like, he's going to have to literally have a come to Jesus conversation with his teammates. And we know this happens all the time. Team meetings, players are allowed to, hey, coach, can I get a minute? Stand up, go to the front of the room, say, hey, fellas, you know what? I'm young, but it's not an excuse. I made a huge mistake as a quarterback. I should never tap out of a game. It was just a lapse in judgment. Even because he tried to defend it. Like, man, I was tired, man. I just ran around, so I didn't even think of, just admit it was a mistake. It was a dumb move. Because I heard somebody on NBC radio last night saying oh, I don't even like when receivers tap out after 9 routes. Pump your brakes, bro. That's a lot of running sometimes. But for a quarterback, you can't tap out.
Always defending receivers, Ron.
Hey, chill out. Just saying, Reggie Wayne was the king. Reggie Wayne was the king of tapping out after 9 routes. So
that's 60 yards. That's different.
Exactly. So Anthony Richardson, center, guard, tackles, and quarterback. I think those are the positions you can't tap out. Your offensive line can't tap out and your quarterback can't tap out. Running backs are allowed to. Receivers are allowed to. Tight ends, depending on what type of tight end you are. If you're Josh Oliver, no, stay in there and block, bro. You're not running that far. TJ Hawkinson can tap out. Travis Kelce can. If you're the starting number 1 cornerback, that's the lockdown guy. Even that I would say is tough. Byron Murphy can't really tap out. You just can't when you're the number 1 corner. Same with if you're the number 1 safety in Cam Bynum, that's kind of tough. Him and Harrison Smith. It's tough for those guys. The green dot, you can't tap out. So same with the offensive green dot, the defensive green, you can't just tap out if you're the green dot. Hey, I'm tired, man. Hey, you got to give us a play, man. Get your butt back in there. Like that's the one. But defensive linemen, outside linebackers, rush ins, they can tap out. So Anthony Richardson is going to have to stand up, be a man, go to the front of the room, apologize, ask for forgiveness, say I'm behind Joe Flacco 100%. And if I ever get my chance, coach, trust me, I'm never going to make that mistake again. Boom. And then move on. And I think
that way he won't get stabbed.
And that way he won't have to get stabbed. I think that's the only way around it. Like, because that vibe, like, honestly, like watching film, we're human. Teammates are watching that too. Like, did this dude just tap out on critical third down? Like, what are we doing? So, and then they had to run the ball, because Flacco probably wasn't prepared to just go in and run a play for third down to score a touchdown. So I think that put them as a whole in a terrible position, because the only other way out would have been, hey, call timeout. What's going on, man? I'm tired, coach. All right, take a breather. You got to go back in, though. Like, that's the only way around it. I think everybody was shell-shocked, like, wait, what? Did the quarterback just tap out? Like, what? Like, I guarantee that's never happened.
Do you think he should have, like, lied and just said there was, like, a helmet issue or something?
Yes.
Yeah. Maybe.
Okay, that's why. Okay, I agree.
Maybe say like I can't hear. But even that though, like if so, because PJ Fleck talked about this when the quarter, like he would have to say like, he'd have to say like a part came out. Like I would rip my ear pad out and say, hey, equipment issue. Then the refs will say equipment timeout and they'll let them fix his helmet because he is the quarterback. That's the only way around it, is like you got to, because even if you say communication, there's hand signals, so you can't say like I can't hear you. Like it's got to be equipment failure, or you got to tie your shoes or something. Like you got to like rip your shoulder pad. I'll be like, hey, my shoulder pad's loose. Like, oh, ref, can you fix it? It's got to be something detrimental to the quarterback's health and safety, other than just like, oh, I can't hear my coach. So what? Get some hand signals. Do something. Like do something else. Like yeah. So no, he would have had to do something like that. Helmet, ear pad, something popped out. Let me fix it. Can't find my mouthpiece, whatever. And then he could have run over, got a mouthpiece quick, because quarterbacks are supposed to have mouthpiece even though they don't use them.
Yeah.
It's such a BS.
I was talking to Jake Arthur on Locked On Colts in the crossover. He's a credentialed Colts reporter, so he's more buttoned up about this than maybe he wants to be. And you could tell because he was like, man, they handed off the next play. You couldn't hand off?
Right.
It was a run play.
They weren't going to run the ball though. They were in the red zone. They were going.
It was like 3rd and 20. I think they were just getting field goal position.
It was 3rd and 20, but I mean, you could throw a 15, 16-yard strike for a touchdown. Like I'm pretty sure. I mean, unless they were just worried about getting sacked and they don't want to get out of field goal position, I could see that.
I think that was the situation.
Yeah, but if that's the case, then that looks real bad. The fact that they didn't say, hey, just go in. We're running the ball. The only other way around this, and this would have to be a very cerebral head coach, to say like, hey, we told him we're running the ball in the headset, so he came out so he can get a breather. Like that was the only way around. Like he would have had to be in lockstep with his coach,
right?
But none of his coaches knew. They were just like, I've never seen that before. I have no idea, because I guarantee they were in the headset like, yo, who just told him to come out the game, and yeah, it's just bad. And so Shane Steichen can say whatever he wants to him. The one thing I didn't like is how the media tried to say like, did he tell you why he benched you? And he's like, not in so many words. Like he told you. You just aren't allowed to say that to the media. I would have just been like, yeah, he told me, but I'm not going to bring it up to you guys.
Your private conversations are private.
Yeah, like he definitely there's no way he's like, hey, we're going with Flacco this week, man, and that's the end of it. No, he probably said like, look, man, I want you to grow. We got to get your maturity level up. Coaches are not just going to be like, you're the starting quarterback, our 4th overall draft pick or whatever, but we're going to put you on the bench for this 39-year-old guy that likes to go to McDonald's after he wins the Super Bowl. Like, there's no way. There's no way possible that's what it went like. So they definitely gave him like, if you want your job back, here's what I need to see from you. Whatever. Players lost confidence in you, so we're going to go with whatever. He did not just say like, you're benched, you're starting next. Like that's not how that goes. So
it would have been a power move though.
So I think the report, I get where he was going, but again, Richardson's got to man up and just say, yup, he told me exactly what I need to do, but I'm gonna keep that between us. Like that's how you like don't try to make it sound like oh, he didn't tell him, oh, I can't believe they just Benjamin didn't tell him. Like you're just creating more weirdness within the facility that doesn't need to be bought there, and it just shows his youthfulness and that he's got to grow up.
Ron, in closing, Colts Vikings 33-point comeback rematch. What lingers with you when you think about the craziness of that second half 2 years ago against the Colts? Like what is the one aspect of that comeback that stands out most to you?
The same referees that screwed over Sam Darnold screwed over Chandon
Yes.
Sullivan. Those
Yep.
plays should have been allowed to be played out and then reviewed. But in their mind, we're gonna blow this whistle because we have money on the Colts. So I heard somebody say this on the radio that said, are those referees bad or are they on the take? And they were like, one of the two, and I hope it's just that they're bad. And if they're bad, they need to be done. And if they're on the take, they need to be done. So basically, they were just saying like that crew has had this issue in the past, and so like some of their like in-game calls, some of the weirdness that has circled the Vikings, but other teams have been, had to deal with that. I would say that's what sticks in my mind. The Chandon Sullivan plays that probably could have changed the game even more sooner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's crazy that.
And I think it was Jalen Reagor too. Wasn't that the last Jalen Reagor sighting we had? Like he ran the wrong route.
I think he ran the wrong route twice and caused two interceptions in the same
Yeah.
game, and then he was gone.
Yeah.
There was also a phantom holding call on a Jalen Reagor punt return. But it's just crazy that the Vikings had that go against them. They also threw an interception. They had a punt, and a failed fourth down. So they didn't score on 3 possessions in that half and still executed the comeback. That's the crazy part to me. Ron, thank you. We appreciate you. And we'll talk to you on the round table tomorrow morning. He's at 3 Ron Johnson, host of the Ron Johnson Show. Happy Halloween, Ron.
Happy Halloween. Get your snowmen ready. Kids are going to this is a sucky Halloween. Very sucky weather for Halloween.
Yes, it is. It's
frozen candy for everybody.
Get out the rain boots for trick-or-treating. Have a good one, Ron.
All right.
At 3 Ron Johnson on Twitter/X. I want a quick 4-minute drill before we get into our bets and our candy draft. The number 1 matchup to watch in Vikings Colts. 4-minute drill.
Start the clock. It's time to execute the 4-minute drill.
I'll start. I think Jalen Jones against Justin Jefferson when that matchup arises. Jalen Jones, most probably have never heard of him. 7th round pick 2023. He's been at times the number 1 cornerback for the Colts this year. Got most of the work against George Pickens, did well against the Diggs and Nico Collins tandem. He's probably going to be up against Justin Jefferson a lot. And I think that's going to be compelling. 2nd-year guy, 7th round pick against Justin Jefferson. That's going to be a good matchup, and no one's talking about it because no one's ever heard of Jalen Jones. That's what I'm watching for. Arif, how about you?
I think maybe Ryan Kelly versus like whoever's going to be manned up against him in the run game. Whether that ends up being Harrison Phillips a lot, whether that means Ryan Kelly wants to get into the second level and take on Ivan Pace, whatever's happening there, just in terms of the way to take on that center, I think is going to be pretty critical for how that run game plays out. And I think that the Colts still want to be a Jonathan Taylor-focused team, and Ryan Kelly's been really important to the way that the run game works. I think he's like top 10 among centers in run block win rate. Certainly his ability to secure, like he's a consistent run blocker, which is really big. His ability to kind of secure at the second level has been a huge problem for opposing defenses. And so I think one way the Colts will try to get around this blitz is to try to run at it. And so if it's Ryan Kelly versus Ivan Pace or Ryan Kelly versus Harrison Phillips, however that plays out, I think that's going to be pretty important for just managing those first downs.
Braun.
I think the last 2 matchups, the 2020 and 2022 matchups, had major moments from DeForest Buckner against whatever guard we're mad at. So it's that again. It's DeForest Buckner against Ed Ingram or Garrett Bradbury. If they can find those one-on-ones in the pass rush, get that pressure up the interior, they can maybe make all of that stuff in the secondary. I mean, Justin Jefferson can win all the routes he wants, but it doesn't matter if there's a sack.
Week 9 gambling picks. We started the season with $1,000 mythical dollars. We do a spread or over-under plus a Vikings prop every week. I'm leading by about a healthy $250. I'm $1,274 and change. Arif in second, 1,028. Braun in third, 904. And Luke Inman lost a bunch of money last week. He's down to 878. He's also gone today, so he'll get the last picks after we've all picked. The first pick today is Arif Hassan, minimum 90, maximum $900. Arif, let's hear it.
There's not many player props up yet, so I want to take care of that right away, just in case. So I'll take Jordan Addison over 39.5 yards. That's at minus 114. Of course, it'll be the minimum. I just think secondary receivers have all kinds of opportunities here.
Hashtag free three.
Free three.
I am choosing to fade the team, and maybe the Vikings have just been burned by this too many times. I'm fading the team that had the remarkable, miraculous victory last week. I think that human nature leads to letdowns. And therefore, I am taking, this is such a dumb bet, I'm taking the Giants plus 3.5. Washington has to go on the road after that. And let's not forget, Washington did not play well. Washington scored 12 points at home, basically. I'm going to go Giants plus 3.5, minus 105 for 125. Luke Braun.
Actually, yeah, I like the home divisional underdog is always an interesting one because those games never go the way they're supposed to. I too want to get in on some player props because it is like there's nothing for the. I wanted to do a Josh Downs one because I feel like Josh Downs is going to get like 34 targets like a lot of these players do, but he's not on there.
Yeah, he's not on there. Not yet.
Not yet. But Justin Jefferson is. Over 6.5 receptions. It feels like this is one where the Vikings are going to try to like force the ball to him. I think that although TJ Hawkinson is coming back, I'm a little worried about what they've got going up front, right? You've got obviously this issue in the interior. Now you don't know if what you're going to do at left tackle or how good you feel about it. I see a lot of chipping and checking down from Hawkinson. I don't know if this is one where you send him deep a lot. And that means that this one might just get force fed to JJ a lot. So over 6.5 receptions, that's plus 108 at FanDuel.
Nice.
I'll put the
90?
minimum on it. Yeah.
All right, back to me. I'm just going to take the feel-good anytime touchdown scorer. Let me make sure on the odds, but TJ Hawkinson at plus 230 is what it was earlier. Let me double check. TJ plus 230, indeed. Anytime touchdown. Vikings love their tight ends in the red zone, and I think Hawkinson gets one, and I will put 100 on it.
Wait,
Shouldn't Luke have snaked?
What?
I was thinking Inman had texted you bets. I mean, I wasn't. I mean, that's a prop, so it's fine.
No, that's my bad. Was that going to be your pick?
No,
Ron?
because I already did a different prop. No,
right.
I'm also taking a home divisional underdog, Panthers plus 7 against the Saints minus 110. I touched out that one. Just feels like it's going to be a disaster game, and hopefully that means it's within a score.
Bryce Young starting again. All right, and then sorry about that. Hawkinson plus 230 and putting 100 on it. Arif Hassan, final pick.
So I double checked this. I'm kind of surprised. The Texans are 2.5-point underdogs. They are away, but also it is the Jets. So I don't.
That's tonight.
Yeah. I wanted this too, but I've sworn off of Jets games.
I mean that's probably fair, but this was plus 115 at 2.5. I just had to. So I'm missing something. I am falling for the siren song of this bet. I am willing to acknowledge that I'm being suckered by something I have no idea about, whether it's because of like a Stephon Diggs injury or whatever. So I'll take it minimum again.
And I heard you say minus 2.5, but plus 2.5.
Plus 2.5. It's plus 2.5. Yeah.
That is wild.
I don't understand it. But
plus
I'm
114.
probably missing something enormous here. I mean,
That's
there
like
is
It's
Diggs
probably people reacting really hard to Diggs being out, and then plus
but
the Jets
like-
defense and stuff, and Thursday night weirdness.
But like Tank Dell is like good.
Yeah, I don't know. It's got to be that plus Thursday night weirdness, home field advantage.
Sure.
People still not being able to quit the Jets.
That's also fair.
All right, I'll force Inman to send in picks. Those are the selections, and we move now to our Halloween candy draft. These guys have been prepping for really the entire year. Let's share the tab. And on-air production, take that down. There we go.
I probably prepped more for this than for any gambling pick.
Much respect. So I've got 2 categories for chocolate or peanut butter flavored candy bars. I've got small candy, 2 slots, hard candy, 1 slot, and then 2 flex spots. I've listed probably 100 candies on the board. You do not have to abide by the board. That's just a guide to help you with suggestions, but you can go off board if you want. just arbitrarily going to have Arif go first because that's how I ordered it. Arif Hassan, make the opening selection of the Halloween Candy Draft 2024. Let's go.
It's got to be a Reese's Cup. It's got to be. 1-1.
Number 1 overall, the Reese's Peanut Butter Cup. Luke Braun next.
That was also number 1 on my board. Number 2 on my board was the Reese's Fast Break.
It's so good. The Reese's Fast Break's so good.
It's so good.
Like, arguably, I like it more than the cup, but you just can't leave the cup on the board.
I think classics do well here. I get it, but the Reese's Fast Break is heat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the crowd pleasers are certainly in the chocolate and peanut butter section. I'm stuck here with the turn, so I get to make 2 selections. We're gonna go with the classic Snickers at 3rd overall, and I think I'm gonna go small candy with my 2nd pick and go Reese's Pieces before that disappears. I gotta get on the Reese's train. Let's send it back to Baran.
We all gotta have a Reese's. That's true. You need that to fill out your roster.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm making a tough decision. I'm going the small candy route, but I'm making a tough decision between 2 classics. But I think I'm just gonna go nice, safe, can't miss pick of M&M's. Safest pick in the draft.
Oh man, that one's good.
That is nice. Arif, you get 2.
It kind of complicates things for me. So congrats on sniping me. Man, I would have really liked the M&Ms. Okay, I'll go into the hard candy. Actually, I'll take a hard candy and another hard candy in my flex.
Wow.
Because I don't think
Scarcity.
Yeah, exactly. I think that it's really going to screw the rest of you when you get there. So I'm taking Warheads and Jolly Ranchers.
That does screw the rest of us. That's true.
Yeah. So.
Braun.
Now I might go off the board for my hard candy. But I have to ask you if it does which category it counts as. What will this be listed as? Oh wait, no, never mind. It's on there. I just missed it. I'm taking Blow Pops. Or no, I'm not. I'm taking Tootsie Roll Pops. That's what I was asking. That's what I wanted to ask about.
Tootsie Roll Pops. Okay,
Is that a hard candy?
That'd be a hard candy.
I would say that's a hard candy. Yeah.
Much like Blow Pops are.
Yeah.
Correct. Tootsie Roll Pops at 8th overall. I think now this is the run. Like this is the run on.
It is. That's it because there's such a talent cliff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I don't love hard candy personally, so I don't know what appeals, but I know that. I mean, Dum Dums are just everywhere, so I'm gonna go with Dum Dums because there's a flavor for everybody. I don't love that
replacement level Halloween candy.
Yeah, I'm not super passionate about that pick, but we're gonna go.
Passionate about it.
We're gonna turn this around with Skittles. Skittles.
That was the other one I was thinking between with my M&M's decision. I think I got these last year, and I think they carried me almost to a win. So I'm gonna slam it again with Sour Patch Kids.
God,
that's good.
Skittles
that's
and
great.
Sour Patch were the next 2 on my board.
Yeah, boy.
Whew. Kind of weird that we're in lockstep, given how enormous the board is.
It's really weird.
2 picks for Arif.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry, the small candies are so generally good that I'm going to continue avoiding them. I'm going to go, so my chocolate is going to be a Crunch Bar, and my flex is also going to be from the chocolate category, the Cookies and Cream Bar.
Yeah. I remember controversy over that one last time.
Cookies and Cream is incredible.
Yeah.
So, yeah, whatever.
Braun.
I can't believe Twix fell this far.
Oh, that's a good point. Dang. Yeah.
And take
good call.
Twix.
Yeah, that's really solid.
Yeah.
So I've got a chocolate peanut butter to fill in, and then 2 flexes. Sorry if I'm not keeping up with the board here.
Yeah,
but I think
I got you.
But
oh no, I don't.
I
can't edit.
On a day like today, with the Andy Bernard. Give me a break, break
All
me
right.
off a piece of that rusty nail.
What?
Football cream. Fancy feet. No, Kit Kat. If you know, you know.
I
Have you never
don't.
heard that before, Luke?
No. What in God's name was that?
Andy Bernard, famously, one of the storylines of the episode is he can't think of what you're breaking a piece off of. And he has all sorts of ridiculous suggestions like, break me off a piece of that apple sauce. And that's one of the
It's like a I think you should leave sketch kind of.
one of the through lines of the show. Yeah. And then at the end of the show, he has a big revelation. He's like, fancy feast. Yeah, it's a cat thing. So I've got one more, and it's a flex. So the whole board is open. I'm going to flex in a personal favorite, Mike and Ike's.
Yeah, you would like Mike and Ike's.
You would like Mike and Ike's.
Potentially underrated, Mike and Ike's are, I would say.
I feel like it's 16th overall. I'm going to take that value. Braun,
Yeah, sure. Is Butterfinger still up?
Butterfinger is available.
Yeah, I'll put that in.
Is Butterfinger singular or plural?
I think it's a Butterfinger bar. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Arif.
Good one. I gotta go small candies. Man, I got 4 that I like. This is gonna be tough. No, that's fine. I'll take one chocolate one and one not one. So I'll take the Tootsie Roll in the small candy. And I'm gonna go with a favorite more than a crowd pleaser on this one. I'm gonna go with the Gushers.
Fruit Gushers. 18th overall. That's a great snack. All right,
It
your
is.
roster is complete. No changing now. Luke Braun, final pick
I'm going off the board
off the board.
for my final flex.
I
Gonna take.
screwed up. Sorry, I screwed up the numbers on the picks. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, that's all right. I'm gonna take a Nerd's Rope.
Oh, I think you took that last year, didn't you?
I think Inman took it last year and it carried him
Okay,
very
yeah.
far.
Yeah, that's a good one. Good memory.
Mm-hmm. I like. Is it Chewy Nerds? You can get it like the gas station, like the little Nerds balls with like gummies.
Oh yeah,
and
those
nerds.
are great.
Mm-hmm.
Those are.
There's a
those
lot
are-
on this board that I wish we had deeper rosters. There's a lot here that I'm sad to see still up there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
All right, I get the final pick. With my first flex, I went kind of with the fruit small candy, so I'm going to balance that out with something from the chocolate peanut butter section. I like to be polarizing with this pick, but at the same time, I really hate to put myself out there like that. Not much of a risk taker. All right, we're gonna end with $100,000. I love $100,000. I can't resist. 21st
This is-
overall.
This is crazy. Starburst goes unselected. Gummy Bears go unselected.
Three Musketeers and Milky Way and Almond Joy all unselected.
Incredible UDFAs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Hershey's Kiss.
Very deep
unselected?
draft. This is one where you'd trade back for a lot of 7th rounders.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
I also, a part of
Whopper.
me really wanted to pick Cowtails. Cowtails are fantastic, but I feel like they're not popular enough.
Yeah. Airheads.
You
got to
have mass appeal.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
But Cowtails are. I would enjoy a Cowtail preferably over I think half of my team.
I don't love. This is the first time in a long time I don't love my team. I think I made a couple mistakes, but
So we'll swap out the names for Team 1, Team 2, Team 3,
Yeah.
and then make the vote blind so that unless you watch live, you don't know who the team is belonged to, because Arif just has, for whatever reason, a cult following and always wins. So we had to balance it
what
out.
do you mean by that?
50,000
like my
Twitter
picks.
followers is probably.
People like
vote-
my picks. That's
people-
it.
I don't think that's borne out in the evidence. Since we started going blind, I don't know if that's really been the case.
I do still keep placing in the top half. I don't think I've placed bottom half since we went blind.
We'll see. Only 3 people to vote for this year.
Yeah, it's gonna make it tough to place top half. Admittedly.
No Milk Duds?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Milk duds stink. Milk duds are
Nah,
terrible.
milk duds are fine. I like them.
No, milk.
A lot
If
of
you
people
want
swear
to,
by them.
if you want to have junk
Nerds,
stuck in your teeth,
Smarties.
great choice.
They do Pop Rocks. Oh man,
Starburst is the most surprising one.
Starburst is crazy. I was
to me.
considering that, but I was like, I gotta have another chocolate in there.
Yeah, I thought about it a lot, but then I decided to go hipster on the Nerds rope because I remember that one had power.
Yeah.
Happy and safe Halloween to everybody, and enjoy your night. Enjoy the game Sunday night. We'll have a postcast right afterward with Luke Inman, Luke Braun, Ron Johnson, and myself. Arif Hassan, Wide Left, had a big piece go up yesterday. Check that out. And we will talk to you next time on the Minnesota Football Party.